Hey, what's up, universe? It's 6:58 a.m. Central Time on Friday, November 3rd, 2023. This is going to be a bit of a nerdy kind of video. Might be kind of long. The main inspiration for this is a video that David sent to me via a text this morning, and I told him I was probably going to do a video about it. It is going to be talking about community. It's going to be talking about decentralization. It's going to be talking about communication channels. Obviously, things like cryptocurrencies will play into this. Decentralized, distributed governance. You know, the ideas of digital online communities or even new countries. These are ideas that have been spoken about and that I've thought about and have ran across over the years. So that's what this video is going to be about. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around. If not, see you in the next video. So community has definitely been coming up for me over the last 3 or 4 years, and that's something that even Ken and I have been talking about recently. And he brought that to me, something that he thought that I would be able to really help him with a project that he's got going on. When I was going through TCP, I was a huge part of that community, and a lot of people thought that I should be a part of, like, I don't know if I want to say growing that, but participating somehow in future cohorts of that program. Definitely, the conversation that I had with Mike a handful of days ago was about communities. So it's definitely been coming up. David and I talked about it here recently too. This whole idea of like the whole American national or state citizen. These are communities as well, right? So that being said, community has been coming up. And the thing I want to talk about that I don't hear people talk about when they talk about these distributed systems, be it cryptocurrencies, be it digital states or countries, any of that kind of stuff that's online, any form of decentralization, I never hear anybody talk about this particular point. It's the first thing that comes to my mind every single time, because to me it's glaringly obvious, and I've brought it up to people for years and I still don't hear people talk about it. So the thing is that there is a physical infrastructure that is required for these things to work. No matter if it's a mesh network and if everybody's using their cell phones and they're doing like point-to-point like type of communication at some level somewhere along the chain, it's going to touch physical infrastructure. To connect everybody together, there's going to be landlines, there's going to be fiber optics, there's going to be routers, there's going to be physical infrastructure that this network touches. And that is the crux. To me, that is like the linchpin to the whole thing. And I just had a conversation with ChatGPT. I was like, what if we had fully developed quantum communications? And I said, this would still be an issue. Is that correct? And it's like, yes, even if we had fully developed quantum communications, this particular point about those who own and operate the physical infrastructure would still be able to control what is on that infrastructure. And that is the whole point. So I haven't heard anybody talk about this. Like a whole separate infrastructure would need to be created for this type of society and for these types of sovereign things to exist, at least as it is right now. Like if everybody changed over, then the whole infrastructure would be able to change with us. What we're talking about is changing, basically bringing into existence a whole different way of being, a whole different lifestyle, a whole different reality than what currently exists. And it's just like any other type of transition, there's going to be resistance between what currently is and what's coming into being, right? And what I'm trying to get at is that there's no way for the new system to live on the old system. Those that own the old system will not allow the new system to exist, or they will become attacked, it'll be controlled, it'll be I understand the whole resistance of the internet as far as like the resilience, we'll say, and be like, well, they can't like shut it all down. No, they can't, but they can certainly regionalize everything. They can make it to where it's not really all that global, you know. And you might have like pockets of like networks where pockets of people of same philosophical beliefs will be able to communicate with each other, but to make it global, they can totally control that. They can definitely black hole things. This is a rather trivial thing to do. So all I'm saying is that ultimately it is the physical infrastructure that needs to be addressed first, and I've never ever heard anybody talk about this ever, because it's great to have these things. The ideas are not the problem, in my opinion. Like, I'm all for it. Let's explore this stuff. Let's go for it. It's just that what we currently have right now, kind of good luck. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where the battle's going to be. And in my opinion, I'm not one to really battle if I don't have to. And it's probably not the best word, although it may be, because again, in any type of transition, there's going to be resistance between the old and the new. And you know, even if there were enough people and enough money to like go out and start building out an entirely new communication infrastructure, you're still going to have resistance from the old. You know what I mean? Like, at that point, it's no different than like what happens in the real world when there's philosophical, you know, differences, like sabotage, other types of disruption or violence. You know what I mean? Like, there's to bring the new into existence that way. And I'm not saying the new won't come into existence. I'm just saying that like the physical infrastructure is necessary. It's absolutely necessary. You know, like to escape the, you know, what do we want to like, rule of the kings, you know, in England. And I know that didn't really happen, but you know, let's just kind of play along with the story here. But like to start a whole new life, right? There's a whole bunch of people that left England and came over to America, and they set up an entirely new country, new infrastructure on new land. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they had to leave something, and there was resistance to that, and there was violence to that. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's the same to me. I'm just trying to draw the paradigm, you know, a parallel here, that new infrastructure needs to exist for the new to live on, you know. And it can be the same technology as far as like, okay, same type of router, same type of fiber, like same protocols. Like, I'm not saying any of that has to change. I'm just saying the physical ownership, like who controls that physical layer, because we live in a 3D world. The physical layer is like, it's like fundamental, and without control of that, then you don't have control. You know, and so that's kind of been my problem with like all of this decentralized stuff in the beginning, is it's just kind of like, all right, some of the ideas I still have, you know, questions about, I still have my resistance towards, but fundamentally speaking, it's always been the physical infrastructure. I'm like, look, like until that problem's solved, like it's not gonna work, you know what I mean? Like, and what are we gonna do? Like, ham radios? Like, but even then you've got frequencies, you can jam that stuff. Like, that's all I'm saying, is that like, I have a hard time seeing this. Like, there needs to be plans and an idea, some type of solution around the regionalization of this kind of stuff, because the powers that be that currently control the infrastructure will do whatever they can to maintain that control, and it's going to be very easy for them to disrupt the global connection of this and to basically regionalize it if they want to. It'll be no problem, you know. And so while there may be millions of people or that have the same philosophical beliefs, and those millions of people are spanned across the globe, it's going to be pretty easy to segment those people because they're not in a physical location, and the way that they're communicating is across very restricted and controlled infrastructure. These are state assets. These are national security assets. These things are controlled and protected, and they always have been, because communication has always been key. Information has always been power. And so the channels of communication are highly regulated, protected, and absolutely monitored. And until there's an infrastructure that is completely and wholly owned and absolutely owned by those that share the exact same philosophical beliefs of those that are creating these communities, then these communities are vulnerable to a very fundamental part that makes these communities exist. And that's always been, even when we get into the quantum thing, if we had quantum communication, all that really addresses is more the security and privacy side of things. The physical infrastructure still remains a vulnerability. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying it won't come. I'm just saying I haven't heard anybody really talk about this. And so I'm open to being rebutted. I'm open to people's ideas. I'm open to all of that. I just personally have never ran into anybody talking about this. And to me, it's the fundamental problem. It's the fundamental problem. Everything else is above layer. You know what I'm talking about? This is the OSI layer. The first layer, it's the physical layer. Physical. And then after that, everything's already happened after that. But the physical layer has never been addressed. We need to address that one. And that goes not just to the networks. That goes to data centers. That goes to, the cable. It goes to the whole infrastructure, the whole physical infrastructure, everything. So, and that's no small thing, and it's also no small amount of money. That's a huge infrastructure, resource rich. That takes a lot. And yeah, it's just kind of a question for me. I don't know how that's gonna work. You know what I mean? I don't know. It seemed like there might have been something else, but that's kind of that's my big rant on that. Yeah, I can't think of anything else, I guess. It seemed like there may be something else, but that's my big rant with that. And I guess I'll just let it go on that. So that's what I got. All right, I appreciate you guys listening. Thanks for taking the time to entertain my my soapbox on this particular point and facet. I will just say that, I know what it was. Yeah, I do believe, like I said before, that Generation Alpha, as we move forward, this whole idea of individual sovereignty, because honestly, that's what it comes down to, right? Is that it's not just these communities that are aligned philosophically. It's really coming back to the individual, because part of what these communities, at least that I've seen so far, is that all people align philosophically, and they're free to come and go. You know what I mean? And that comes down to individual choice. That comes down to individual sovereignty. That comes down to the individual making the right choice for them, And so that's what I've been talking about for a long time over these videos, is the individual sovereignty. The more, as we progress forward, the more and more and more it's coming back to the individual. Generation Alpha is going to demand that kind of a thing, and I bet you Generation Beta is absolutely going to embody that. They're going to absolutely embody that. They're going to look back and be like, what the hell was that shit? They're like, there's no way we would participate in a world that was as groupthink and as centralized and as controlled and as, oppressed as what we've been living through. There's just no way. There's going to be a zero tolerance policy from Generation Beta around this kind of a thing. I will bet serious cash on this. I'll just bet my life on it, honestly. I'll bet my life on it. So these individuals have not been born yet, but I guarantee you, their attitude when they come of age, when they get to be in like their 20s, they're gonna be like, that was complete trash. And Generation Alpha is gonna lay they're gonna help pioneer that, and there's gonna be some of us in these older generations here that are gonna help lay that foundation too, because as we go forward, that's where it's going. The writing's been on the wall for a long time. It's been on the wall for a long, long time. And there's been a lot of movement towards more individual types of sovereignty. So this infrastructure will have to exist. I'm just calling out that I haven't heard anybody talk about it, and there is going to be a transition period. I don't know what that's going to look like, but there's absolutely going to have to be a transition period on the physical layer. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So it'll be interesting just to see how it unfolds. I definitely believe in the individual coming more and more into our own authority. And I do believe that as that continues, our systems of governance, what our communities look like, what our rules look like, what our laws look like, how we structure ourselves, all of that's going to change. I mean, it's going to be like any other type of process. It'll be pretty gradual, I assume. I don't think it'll necessarily be dramatic. Although, I mean, I suppose it could be. I anticipate it to be something that kind of grows, just kind of a natural blossoming, a natural byproduct of like a growing shift. Yeah. So those are my beliefs. That's the way I see it. Those are my thoughts. Now I'm going to wrap it up because it was the generational stuff that I wanted that was the other piece that I was thinking of. All right. Thank you again for journeying with me. Thanks for giving me some time and space. I'm curious to hear anybody's thoughts and comments on this, if you have any. And we'll go from there. All right, I love you guys. Talk to you later.